Alec Anderson here at Fatech. Would you please ignore the last two videos I've posted on this wee channel of mine? Those are pretty much test videos. They're kind of sound checks, if you like. I'm trying to resolve this ongoing technical issue I'm having with my pod. You know, it's like you get to my age, your equipment doesn't work quite as well as it used to. That's a double entendre, and it's golden patter like that that's been ruined by this ongoing kind of lip syncing problem I'm having. It's like a bad episode at Top of the Pops, these pods, you know, it's kind of right on time. Who was that? Milli Vanilli, they were doing the lip syncing as well, weren't they? My fat mouth isn't moving at the same time as the fat patter that's coming out of it, so apologies if that's annoying. I was just posting these videos. I just rambled on for different lengths of time because I've discovered that the longer the video, the quicker the lip syncing problem comes in. So if you're watching this video just now, right at the beginning, and already, if you're unfortunate enough to be watching my face right now, and already my mouth is moving at a different time from the words coming out of it, switch off now. It's going to be a long video. Save yourself while you can. Get out now. But what I've discovered, posting it on like YouTube so I could get in there and I was trying to edit it retrospectively after trying to edit it on my recording equipment, let's call it euphemistically. What I've discovered with these technical things is that I'm useless. I'm useless and I'm lazy. And if you're useless and lazy, those two factors combine to make you skint as well, because people don't tend to want to employ you. So useless, lazy and skint. So what I'm going to do here is what I usually do when I've got kind of practical problems like this, and that's nothing. And I'm going, if somebody else wants to come in, a third party just intervenes out the kindness of their heart and just switches the right thing on and off again. That's the only way this is going to get sorted. So you just have to bear with me like forever. Although I've got to do this video tonight, there's a civil war breaking out amongst the Rangers support, so it doesn't matter how this message is being delivered. Never mind how the message is being delivered. It's just the message must get delivered. I've got to intercede here like Frankie Vaughan with the Glasgow Gang Wars, because I can't have my fellow Blue Noses fighting with each other. A lot of people getting really hurt with this, and I'll go on to discuss that with you quite shortly. But although I've kind of found out, maybe the League Cup semi-final just a couple of weeks ago against Hearts, the League Cup semi at Hampden, the smell of ganja was overpowering. It was everywhere. The dope, the Mary Jane, the marijuana, absolutely everywhere you went. Outside Hampden, inside Hampden, it was like an Amsterdam cafe. I didn't even see anybody smoking, or not any kind of Camberwell carrot type joints or that. Anyway, plenty of folk obviously vaping, and can you get the cannabis for the vape things? I don't. As I've said elsewhere, I think I said in one of the Jersnet pods, I actually just can't smoke. It's not that I hate it as a habit or whatever. I physically can't do it. I'm an incompetent smoker. I don't know how to do it. It's the only reason it's the only bad habit I don't have is just because I failed at it. I failed at inhaling smoke. So I don't know myself, but I'm certainly familiar with the smell of dope. Particularly walking about Glasgow, you walk down a street and it's absolutely virulent. You can't avoid it, but yet there's never anybody about. You can never see anybody. There's not even a window open in these streets. You can't see anybody having a wee puff and letting it go out the window. But so it's everywhere, it's everywhere. But the football, that was quite at Hampden. It's the strongest I've smelt it. It just seemed like everybody was on the dope that day. I remember Nick Hornby talks about it in Fever Pitch. I'm sure he talks about being on the away end at Villa Park, watching Arsenal, obviously, and that's the kind of north stand that used to have a paddock in front of it, kind of terrace, and it's now seated. It's home fans now. The away fans at Villa Park now go in the Doug Ellis stand, but it used to be the old away end at Villa Park. Remember Ian Rush scoring the 2 goals in that yellow Liverpool strip with the pinstripe? Was a hat trick or 4 goals or something he scores for Liverpool at their peak in the 80s, and he's controlling the ball with his chest and taking his knee and volleying it in the top corner. It was peak Ian Rush, and I always remember him scoring into that, and the Liverpool fans are in the terrace, and they used to be there. Nick Hornby in my head is on that terrace, and I remember him this late 70s or early 80s, and he's talking about it. This is the first time he'd smelt dope amongst the Arsenal support, and that for him signalled a kind of cultural shift amongst football supporters. But for me, it's just stinking, that kind of seedy, literally seedy, not euphemistically, it's actual seed. It's kind of wet smell. It's quite kind of pongy. So maybe I'm just saying that because maybe there's a lot of Rangers fans out there, fans of any club, happy for you to watch my little video here, but obviously it's mostly going to be Rangers fans. Both of you will be Rangers fans. Maybe if you partake, the lip syncing thing will resolve itself, or you'll find it quite entertaining by the end of the video, or maybe everything will seem absolutely normal to you. See, I say this as somebody who can't partake, but certainly gets the munchies. Is that lip gloss? No, it's the remnants of my roast chicken that I've just devoured, my Saturday night roast chicken. So it's the international break, and I quite like international football. I quite enjoy watching Scotland, and I love watching the highlights packages. You see the fella who scored the first goal for Hungary the other night when they qualified for the Euros in Sofia. They were playing Bulgaria behind closed doors, 2-8 draw, but the guy who scores the first goal, check it out. If you can't, he's bigger than me. I'm telling you, the guy is fatter than me. He's like a total juniors player, classic juniors player. Obviously younger, so he's still got plenty of hair, but sort of ginger as well. And this guy's going to the Euros. He looks like a younger version of myself, so that's encouraging, or cheapens Scotland's achievement. I don't know what that actually means, but this is the fattest guy I've seen playing international football for quite some time, probably ever. Adam, I think his name was. No, don't go there. That's no fair. But I think it might be Adam. And Adams his name was, but check it out anyway. But I like international football. I know a lot of Rangers fans don't, and they're quite. But even myself, even a fan of the international game, I've been missing the Rangers for one reason more than any other. Our manager's press conferences, Philippe Clement. I'm missing the sound of Philippe Clement's voice. Who would have thought, as a Rangers supporter, start of this season, you would ever be missing Rangers official manager press conferences? He's been such a breath of fresh air. Michael Beale, we were like kind of covering our ears and covering our eyes. We didn't want to know when he was doing a press conference. They were getting just unbearable. Philippe Clement, I'm actually missing them. I'm really looking forward to us coming back for that reason. And it's the way this whole thing with synergy. I think he get the word synergy. I'm sure he must have got that off James Bisgrove, because he can't stop saying it. It's total blue sky thinking talk. He must have mentioned that to him, to Clement in the interviews at some point. Clement went away, looked it up in his wee English to Belgian dictionary. I know there's no such language as Belgian, sorry. He's looked it up in his wee dictionary. He's thought, I know, I'm going to use that properly. And we're feeling the synergy with the big man. The white pages, the players are getting a white page. I love that. And the braveness, he wants to see braveness and aggressivity. These little mistranslations, these little malapropisms are absolutely beautiful. They sum up how he's freshening things up. He's saying the same old stuff. It's total manager speak. This the most important game is the next game. That's just another way of saying one game at a time, but he's saying it in a fresh, almost quirky, kind of energetic way, and that's been reflected in the way the players are playing and the way the fans are reacting. He's just refreshed the whole joint. I'm not Harry Potter. I don't have a magic stick. Doesn't say wand? It's a magic stick. And Ross McCausland, Cifuentes, they'd better watch themselves, because he's very aware. He was telling us that when players go away on international duty, they sometimes forget some of the pages of the book we are building. I mean, you don't build a book, you write a book. There's a buildings roman. The name for a certain type of book. Anyway, but you don't build a book, you write a book, but it was lovely, and it's kind of aphoristic as well. It's these kind of phrases that you're going to remember. I'm remembering already, and I'm missing already, but it just sums up how they managed to refresh the thing. And I'm thinking, but yeah, for all we couldn't stand listening to Michael Beale by the end, Michael Beale did have some good patter. He had some good phrases. Seduced by possession, that's one I really remember. I'm talking about how Rangers were getting seduced by possession. That was a beautiful way of talking about how we loved having the ball. We're getting too comfortable just having the ball in games. We're forgetting to, get it in the back of the net and finish the game off, do what needed doing. So, yeah, I don't really think we can say that it's just the patter with Clement that's inspiring us. I mean, who is the benchmark for managers, Rangers managers? But for me, Walter Smith isn't just a benchmark as a Rangers manager. He's a benchmark for being a human being. He's just like everybody's second dad or granddad or whatever, or uncle. He's just an absolute legend. And I can remember things that Walter Smith said, but I don't remember particular phrases, catchy phrases. I remember him saying stuff in interviews. I remember when we won 9 in a row, him saying later his first reaction that night at Tannadice was, I didn't want to be remembered as the guy who hadn't won 9 in a row. Imagine, and I thought that was, your heart broke for him. It summed up his humility, but it also summed up how he got what it was to be Rangers, to be a Rangers man, to be in the Rangers life. There's a massive, massive section of our support who, think that just being contrary equals being clever. I know, I've got a cheek. I'm looking in the mirror as I'm saying this. Like being contrary, taking the contrary view, and the better a player is, the better a manager is, the more popular they are with the greater part of the Rangers support, then the cleverer they feel if they're ready to bring him down and go, aye, but he wasn't that good. And Walter knew that like nobody else, and that's probably what enabled him to achieve what he did. Only Bill Struth can rival him in terms of trophies won, but you don't remember, he didn't have like a catchy phrases, that kind of aphoristic thing. So it's not about that, is it, with Clement? It's not about the way he speaks or what he says. It's aura, isn't it? It's aura. He's got a physical threat. He's a big fella. He's got the head shaved. I think Gio Van Souness, a bit of a legend on Rangers Twitter. I'm going to call it Twitter because Elon Musk, as his big floppy rockets were proven today, is a scumbag. On Twitter, a legend of Rangers Twitter, Gio Van Souness, he was the first, I think, to come out with the Robocop memes and all that, because Clement, he's just got the shaved head, he works out, he looks like he could take you. And Walter Smith had that as well, that physical threat, which you need at this level of football. You like to feel a bit scared of your manager because you know that he can scare the opposition, and better than that, his own players into doing what needs to be done. Walter Smith used to say to, when he did training, when he was assistant to Jim McLean at Dundee United, if he got any snash off any of the players at training, he would take them into the dressing room and offer them first punch. I was at that cup replay that day with Hibs, where he just steamed into the opposition technical area to take on Mixu Patalainen, arguably the biggest, most muscular man ever to play in Scottish football. Walter's like, right, I'm having you right now just to create a day, just to get the mood lifted, because it was a 0-0. It was a dull game, and he just needed to give the place a lift. I'll just go and take on the biggest guy in Scottish football for a square goal. That's the stuff Walter did, and Clement has got that as well. But he's also got the kind of sparkle in the eye. He's not like a kind of malevolent type. It's just, if it's going to get dirty, if it's going to get physical, I'll be able to cope with it. He's got that intense stare, and it's all about the aura. I think the whole package, the aura that he gives off, and this is for the Rangers support. I'm sick of it. We're falling out with each other because guys have said to me, he's not got the magic stick, but is it a Reiki wand? Is that what he's cleansing the aura of the room? And people, is he cleaning the chakras? Have the chakras been refreshed? And there's folk like, no, I'm not having that. He's just, he's just cleansing the chakras. He's not refreshed them yet. And other folk, I'm amongst the kind of the folk that are saying, no, he's just opened the windows, opened the door, and he's let the negative energy get out of the room. And he's maybe, talking about lighting up the herb. He's getting some sage, he's burnt some sage, and he's just cleansing the room before doing the full Reiki session. So it's like folk are falling out about this, and there's just joss sticks and dream catchers flying through the main stand and all that, taking folks' eyes. It's got to stop, boys. It's got to stop, folks. We've got to stop falling out with this and just agree that the main thing is Clement is refreshing the Rangers' aura. For me, I don't think that the actual chakras are going to be refreshed until we lift the league title, and that'll be the moment that the aura is fully cleansed and we're fully re-energised. But I think he's, as I say, just the kind of sage burning point just now. But I don't think there's any coincidence. He arrived during the last international break. We're in the next international break, and he was in the games in between, those 7 games in between. I call it the first tranche of games. I used the word tranche in a Jersnet podcast about this. I was quite chuffed with that one. He's got the players under an observation period. He's constantly observing the players. Well, we're observing you as well, big Phil Clement. I think we were observing him even more forensically than he could be observing the players. You know what Rangers supporters are like, and we like what we see. We're enjoying it, but I don't think there's any coincidence that he's had 7 games in charge and there are 7 chakras. I don't think that's any And if I was going to analyse the games, it turns out that in those 7, each one of those 7 games links up with a different one of the chakras, and I'm going to have to go through this. I'm going to have to go through them one by one with you if we're going to properly assess our aura cleansing manager. Normally you would start with the root chakra, but it's the 7th chakra, it's the last chakra, the crown chakra, right at the top of your head there. The crown chakra, I understand, that's the phrase that you associate with the crown chakra. I'm not reading this off anything. I haven't printed this off from a computer. I know this off my top of my head, and it's knowledge, consciousness, fulfillment, and spirituality. Knowledge, consciousness, fulfillment, and spirituality. That's what sums up the characters of the crown chakra. And I think that was the first game against Hibs. seventh chakra, but the first game he was in charge because it was his crowning moment, wasn't it? He was crowned as Rangers. His crowning moment's going to be, again, when he lifts the league title for Rangers. But I think it was him officially crowned as Rangers manager, actually taking charge of us in a game. And I think it proved that he understood what was required that day. He had the consciousness, he had the knowledge to know that we couldn't just beat Hibs that day at Ibrox. He had to pound them, had to give them an absolute doing, had to get something into their legs. Ahead of just going to Prague in his next game, had to get some confidence in there. A team that had been, the last time we'd played at Ibrox, we'd get beat 3-1 off Aberdeen. So confidence was low, and he needed to get some momentum. He knew, he had the knowledge, he had the consciousness to its fulfillment. He had to fulfill that. I'm not reading this off anything. I know this off the top of my head. So he had to fulfill this, getting the momentum going again, the remit to get the momentum going, to get the optimism back at Ibrox. So winning 1-0 wouldn't be enough. It needed to be a doing. He pounded Hibs 4-0, 2-0 at half time. Even getting the second goal, Seaman got a goal early on. A fellow Belgian, Nico Raskin, gets a second goal just in the stroke at half time. So they get down that tunnel. That tunnel, those Rangers players have gone down 3 or 4 times that season to boos ringing out throughout the stadium from their own fans. They went down there, the applause ringing in their ears. No doubts already. 2-0 up. Come in the second half, do it again. Sima scores again, and then he gets a goal out of Dessers as well. It's 4-0. We've got the confidence going. We've got some confidence needed ahead of playing Sparta, but also to turn around how the season had started and to get us going through the bad times that he's constantly predicting will be bad time, because he's got the knowledge, he's got the consciousness in his crown chakra that will get there, but he needed that 4-goal win under his belt. And it was 2 goals each half, 2-0 each half, and that's the thing under Clement. Each half has been really different. That was sometimes the score's been the same in each half, but that half, it was the same. 2-0 first half, 2-0 second half. Real balance there as well, talking about the chakras. And it was a fantastic start. And I think that the third eye, the next chakra down, if we're going to work in reverse, the 6th chakra, that's your third eye, just at the front there, the kind of indigo chakra, IC. That sums up the third eye chakra. And again, I'm not reading this off anything. I know that it's about intuition, lucidity, meditation, and trust. And I think that's actually going to be his last game in charge in that 7-match run when we beat Livingston 2-0. He'd meditated on that. He'd meditated on the challenge presented by Liverpool. It's Liverpool, my God. I'm so badly affected by what they did to us last season. Let's not talk about that again. Although Liverpool did beat us 2-0 at Anfield. I thought, anyway, he's not with the plastic pitch at Livingston. And he said it's a different sport. It's a different sport. And he started talking about the tennis, how you get guys that are good on grass and guys that are good on plastic. And plenty of guys at Ibrox that are good on grass these days. Like I say, 2 Sundays ago, absolutely stinking of dope at Hampden. And that's quite good. He's talking about, like, you've got Nadal, he's fantastic at Roland Garros on the clay. Andy Murray's played really well on the AstroTurf, if you like, the plastic. He's beat the Australian Open final a few times, and he won the US Open, Flushing Meadows and all that. But Wimbledon, he won, Wimbledon twice on the grass. He had also won that kind of Olympics Wimbledon. Clement didn't mention any tennis players' names or tournaments' names. That's me taking it to the next extreme. But he was getting excuses in beforehand. He was asked about the surface, and he said, "I don't like it, but if we had to play in the car park at Livingston, we would be up for it as well." And I thought that's absolutely fantastic. It's just, he had meditated on that, and with lucidity, he had shown the intuition with how to deal with that, and the trust that he put in the team that day, in keeping with the third eye chakra. He's just dropped. Look, he dropped 4 players the starting lineup. He got Leon Balogun back in there. Ben Davies, you would think, was a next best defender available to him at centre half, but no, he just keeps going with Leon Balogun because he trusts him. And he started with young Ross McCausland, but he kept Ryan Jack in the team. Ryan Jack, who would normally, I think it was his 4th game in the trot or something, normally when it came to the plastic at Livingston, Ryan Jack, we need a fortnight off before and after, but no, Ryan Jack is doing the business. He got him out there, done the business, and we won the game 1-0 each half, same score each half. We won the game 2-0, but the first half, we were letting Livingston come at us, and we're kind of sucking them in and blowing away, walking right through them. Could have had a couple of goals, obviously, dodgy offside decision, but Second half, it was more the stereotypical game at Livingston where they're dug in, they're all behind the ball, and we're trying to break them down. But we did with that penalty, and we won the game 2-0. And I think that the throat chakra, the third chakra down, the third last chakra, the throat chakra, I talk. That's the wee phrase that sums it up. I talk. Again, not reading this off anything. It's about communication, expression, creativity, inspiration. I talk, and he must have done that big time at Sparta Prague. His second game in charge, but I think the throat chakra came to the full there. 0-0 in Prague. Absolutely pounded by Sparta Prague in that first half, but he must have inspired them. He must have talked to them. The creativity he showed, the expression of Rangers that night. We didn't just cave in like we would have done under Michael Beale. We rose to the occasion, and I think it was the night that Jack Butland moved from being super competent, and that's all we've needed. For the past 2 seasons, Al McGregor was allowed to get too old at Rangers. The greatest goalkeeper I've ever seen in my life, playing for Rangers all in. But Al McGregor had got too old. John McLaughlin wasn't up to it either. We didn't have a goalie who could just command his box, come out and take a cross out the air. And that was that goes right through the whole team. Makes the defence fragile. They don't have the confidence. It just afflicts the whole team, and it cost us seriously. It cost us the title, basically, I think. Particularly the season we got to the final in Seville, which we'd never have got to without the brilliance, the shot stopping of Alan McGregor. But it definitely did cost us. So I was quite happy that Jack Butland was just commanding his box. But that night in Prague, he started moving towards Rangers' legacy goalkeeper, in with the great, definitely deserving of the famous Rangers yellow jersey. Chris Woods, Andy Gorham, Alan McGregor at his peak. As I say, he was getting into that kind of category with the double save that really was digging us out of a hole. The famous double save in the first half, first 55 minutes really, Sparta Prague pounded us. But the throat chakra, the communication, the expression that must have come out from, if you look, come on, at half time, Rangers went out the second half, took another bit of a pounding for the first 5-10 minutes, but then started to get right into the game, breaking up the park. Sparta come back into it a bit, not to the same effect. There were a couple of great saves from Jack Butland, and then last 20 minutes or so of the game, we were easily the best team, could easily have won the match. So I thought that was absolutely fantastic performance over there, real character. And then the heart chakra, that's the fourth last chakra, working down the body. The heart chakra summed up by the phrase I love. Obviously, that's acceptance, love, compassion, sincerity. The acceptance of the fact that the game's been delayed. I'm talking Dundee at Dens Park. I think that's a game we beat Dundee 5-0 at Dens Park. Accepting that we're going to be late for the game, we're stuck in traffic. Then having the kind of compassion for the Rangers support, because they've lit it up with the pyro and it's got the game stopped again. We're not going to blame you. And having the sincerity to just keep playing. And that rhythm they'd established in the first 2 or 3 minutes, go out there, the first minute after the game's resumed, we score the goal through Ryan Jack. We dig it out. The first half turns into a bit of a grind, but we go out there in the second half and it is just absolutely love. It's total love. They just go in there and they blow Dundee away. That's the Rangers we want to see. Games like Dundee at Dens Park, even a Dundee team who are doing quite well this season, we go up there and we just blow them away like they're nothing. And I thought we were fantastic that night. Second half, Danilo one, we could have had a few more goals than the one he got, but he really rose to the task that night in his first start. I think that's why he missed that chance where he basically, we showed a development in the team there where Tav punched the ball up basically from his own box and Danilo kind of knocks it on behind the 2 centre halves from the halfway line, turns them, is in behind them. He's trying to go for the worldie finish into the top corner, but he's just buzzing about the fact that he's back starting games for Rangers. But Tav scores a penalty. Sima is fantastic the way he's linking up. We were brilliant that night. Even Sam Lammers getting that goal, and it was, I love that. That's kind of Rangers that I love, and Rangers showed a love of being Rangers that night, just blowing teams away. We had a big red kit on as well, kind of a heart-coloured kit. Now, the solar plexus chakra, that's the third chakra working up the body, the fifth last working down the body. I do, that's characterised by the phrase I do. It's strength, personality, power and determination. Again, I know that off the top of my head, not reading that off anything. That's got to be, for me, beating Hearts 2-1 at Ibrox on that Sunday. After we come back from Prague, we're absolutely knackered. Hearts have had a free week, so they're ready to go. They take the lead early on and we do not respond well to that. We're struggling throughout the whole of that first half. Tav misses a penalty right in the stroke of half time. Now, the performance isn't much better in the second half. We don't really change it that much, but certainly, we're camped outside Hearts, but Hearts aren't in it in the second half at all. But we weren't really getting anywhere, but we had stepped it up a gear. And the big significant change between the first half and the second half that day was we eventually scored 2 goals. And I think that was the day that we showed the kind of I-do attitude that Manipura, the solar plexus chakra, is strength, personality, power, and determination. The personality to think, no, we're not going to, we're not going to just go back to being what we were under Michael Beale. Just the game started badly. We don't really fancy it. Determination to make sure that they could imprint their new personality. And I think for a lot of the players, their basic personality, which had been kind of stymied by Michael Beale, they were going to imprint their personality on the game and to equalise with a penalty from a guy who'd already missed a penalty in the game in the last minute of the match. Absolutely fantastic. And then Danilo comes on, cross from Tav onto Danilo's head, and he gets the winner deep into injury time. That was total personality. That was total determination. That was strength. That was power. That was I-do. I don't care how the setback is. I don't care how much we're struggling. And I saw the big man. I saw Clement out there, willing them on, shouting them on from the technical area throughout that game. I-do. This is what we're going to do now. We're going to do what needs doing. The sacral chakra number 2, the sacral chakra, I feel in the sacral chakra. And I always think the root chakra looks more kind of sexy. It seems to be, maybe it's just my age, things go a bit kind of lower down. That always looks like it's round about the private areas, but it's the sacral chakra, which is summed up by the phrase, I feel. That's your sensuality, sexuality, pleasure, sociability. That has to be the 2-1 home win over Sparta Prague. Things were getting sexual that night. The second goal, scored the 2 goals early on in the first half. Best team we've met so far in Philippe Clement's time at Ibrox, easily. Sparta Prague, not a nice team, but certainly the best team we've played against. So we actually blew them away in the first half, and it should have been more goals. We should have scored more goals, but we got to 2, and you've got, although the manager didn't like it, you had Todd Cantwell and Danilo getting down, having a wee boogie, a wee kind of sensual boogie right in front of me, my seat in the main stand. It was absolutely smashing. Total pleasure. The sociability, well, the Bears are all jumping on top of each other. It was one of the nights. There was hugs and kisses going on, and Rangers were really earning that. They were getting that going. Second half, now, this is the only time I think in Philippe Clement's 7 games in charge so far where the second half performance has been poorer than the first half performance. But I didn't realise until after the game, until people were talking on social media after the game, talking in podcasts, etc., about the crowd had stayed with the team, because that's just what I do. I'm a happy clapper. I'm a wimp as far as kind of hardcore, staunch, never happy types are concerned. I just have this thing. If you've got maybe Ian Black, Joey Barton, these are the only 2 Rangers players that I've never wanted to see in a Rangers jersey, and never liked them when they were here, and was glad when they left. I was embarrassed that they've been at the club, and even them, I'd never booed them or anything during the game. It was just, maybe maybe I didn't applaud them or anything like that, but I'm always on board anyway. So that night, we're cheering Rangers on all through the second half, even though Sparta have scored a goal, with roughly quarter of an hour to go. They're getting us under pressure. We can't quite get going again. We think we've scored a third goal, but it gets chopped off. A dodgy decision. Could have went either way. Is it going to happen? Are they going to equalise on us after we've been 2-0 up? And I think that's something that's underestimated. Celtic had lost 6-0. Was it the previous night or 2 nights earlier in the Champions League away to Atletico? And we weren't taking that. We don't want to be having any setbacks, because that's going to help stoke up the wee civil war, the real civil war that's going on over there between the board and their ultras and the fans in general at Celtic. A lot of them don't like Brendan Rodgers the way he left them the first time. Don't like having him back. So it was important that we didn't let them off. That kind of feeling. We have to kind of keep the foot in the throat a wee bit over at Parkhead, because we need them to be in a bad way for us to be winning all the trophies this season. So it was important that we saw that game out, that we got the 3 points, that there was no setback. So I was chuffed at the end, clapped the team off the park. It was only later I realised, after the way things had been, that game we lost to Celtic at Ibrox. That was toxic. That's the worst I've ever experienced. It was a horrible place to be, Ibrox, at the end of that game. Everybody being so horrible to our team, but it was only the support stayed with the team, and that's a big. They did that night against Sparta Prague. We got behind the team. We helped cheer them on to the end of that game, and they hung on there for the win. And it was I feel this team. I feel that they feel what I feel. There was feelings all round. There was sexuality, there was sensuality, there was total pleasure, there was sociability. It was fantastic. It was a real sacral chakra boosting evening, that one against Sparta Prague. I really enjoyed it. And the root chakra, I am, something that's summed up by the root chakra. The root chakra, again, not reading this, it's energy, stability, comfort, safety. I am the number one chakra, and for me that's got to be the semi-final against Hearts. We beat them 3-1. I am in a cup final. I am happy. I am Rangers. That's what we used to do in cup semi-finals. It was just a routine. It was, you would turn up at cups and the opposition would bring a decent support through with them. They would have a goal. You would almost give them, it was 0-0 at half time in that game 2 weeks ago, because it's like, it's Hearts. Let's, they're trying their best. They're a big club, in terms of the opposition that Scotland can present. Rangers, in the second half, we came out, we blew them away. We scored 3 goals in a quarter of an hour within the first 20 minutes of that second half. And even towards it, it's like that Hearts get a penalty through VAR. Well, not through it being a penalty and VAR spotting it towards the end of the game. But by that time, the game's over. And it was just classic Rangers. Cup semi-finals are what we do. We just win these things, and we will win more finals than we lose once we get to the finals. That was quintessential. That's where we haven't been for a lot of the last 7 or 8 years, certainly since we come back from our time in the lower leagues. Getting to Hampden has been a hit and a miss. This is more like Rangers getting out there, getting the business done. I am Rangers. This is what we're all about. This is what Rangers are saying they are. And that was the root chakra. I think the other thing with Philippe Clement, within those 7 games, you've seen the improvement to virtually all players. All players at Ibrox getting better under him. New manager bounce. It's maybe the fact that he is a managerial guru. But like Sima and Danilo, I think were always going to be good players anyway. I think even when we lost that game at Rugby Park, first league game of the season, we were absolutely awful. Did nothing in the entire game. Even then, I think I said Sima, you could see he was, Dessers in that game, you could see he was lacking fitness. I didn't realise that was as fit as he was ever going to get, as fast as he was ever going to be. But Sima was a guy who had it all physical. He was fast enough, he was skillful enough, he just needed confidence, just needed to get himself settled in to Rangers life. And that goal he scored against PSV Eindhoven, people were seeing that as a wee kind of flash in the pan, a sign of what frustratingly we weren't getting out of him. But he's built on that. He's become an even better player in that left wing berth, or kind of wide left berth he's been given by Clement. But he was always going to get better, I think. Dessers, I don't think any of us were so sure that he was going to get better, and he's still not. People are convinced he's not Rangers material. Same with Sam Lammers. But I think we thought if anybody was going to suffer under Philippe Clement, it would be those two. But it turns out the sufferers are Ben Davis and Todd Cantwell, who've been kind of sidelined a bit. Injuries have played their part and all that, tactics. But it's not the players you would think. John Lundstrom, I just call him the barometer now, because if Rangers are playing well generally, John Lundstrom will play well. It's cart before the horse thing. Is it because John Lundstrom is playing well? Does he just soak up with new managers? Does he just get himself going when there's a contract renewal coming up or something? I don't know, but he's definitely playing absolutely fantastically under Philippe Clement. Scott Wright, a player who is getting sent off in that last game for Michael Beale against Aberdeen, humiliated, played out of position, thought he was getting sold. He was all over the place mentally, probably. Scott Wright, then he's just gradually shown real signs in that game against Dundee at Dens Park, which I loved. Which we all loved when we won 5-0, but then he comes on for Todd Cantwell in the second half of that Scottish League Cup semi-final and blows Hearts away almost single-handedly. So he's been fantastic. Ryan Jack, as I said earlier, he's just been back to his old self. And even like Barisic and Yilmaz are 2 left-backs. They're, both kind of, I think they're hitting 6.5, 7 out of 10 all the time under Clement, which hasn't always been the case. So I think, he's improving everybody, and those who won't improve, like Todd Cantwell, maybe Ben Davis, a bit of attitude as well. I think they'll have to get themselves in line on the big baldy Belgian bus, which I'm quite enjoying. So I'm away to get myself some sage and keep that negative energy cleanse, get rid of it. And you guys, thanks very much for sticking with this video, which at 32 minutes must be seriously out of sync by now. But thanks for sticking with me, and we'll see you for the restart of club football.